The Las Vegas Raiders are linked to a free agent where there actually is still some really good talent available at the position, and it is a move that they got to make. I mean, they must make this move. They need to give Gino Smith a little bit of help, which got me thinking, who is your favorite Raiders receiver of all time? There's been some good ones, right? You can't say Tim Brown. Sorry. Sorry, can't say it. Like that's the one I grew up watching. That's the receiver I grew up watching. You can't say it. So you got to pick somebody either older, which shouldn't be too hard because there's been some good ones, or younger. I'm all in for both of those, but hit me up with the comments on that. Who is your favorite Raiders receiver of all time? Now let's get into what we're talking about. I got really good news on who you're linked to, but then in the second half of this, I'm going to talk about a former wide receiver that played with Geno Smith in Seattle that should make you even more excited about Geno coming to the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, so let's actually have a conversation about that, and let's talk about what that looks like. But first, let's talk about the moves that were linked. In a recent article, there was an article produced talking about the best fits for the top 15 remaining NFL free agents. The three highest rated remaining NFL free agents are all wide receivers. That is who the Raiders are in the market for. I would say more than any position as we look at it. Sure, they already have a de facto number one wide receiver, even though he plays tight end. That is Brock Bowers. But to bring someone in, and the one that they are talking about here is Amari Cooper in a Raiders reunion tour. All right, to put him with Brock Bowers would be great. Personally, I think Stephon Diggs would be great as well. How do you feel about these guys coming in and maybe having a little bit of a run with the Raiders? Look again. If you don't know who we are, my name's Craig. My buddy Chris and I have this channel. We are Lions fans. Our first channel is actually called Sports Talk Detroit. We still run that one. We absolutely do. We're not shy about this, but we love talking about NFL teams that don't necessarily get the notoriety or recognition or respect around the country or the national media that they should. And so we love talking about the Raiders on this. But at the same time, I don't know how all Raiders Nation felt or fans felt when Amari Cooper left the first time. Would you be welcoming him back? Is Stephon Diggs someone you'd want to give a shot to coming off a torn ACL? Are you willing to pay these guys a little something? I know who Amari Cooper is. All right. He's the same player for the Raiders as he was for the Browns, as he was for the Bills. You wondered if he was going to actually be active. It seemed like every single week of his NFL career. And he would tough it out. He would play, but you need wide receivers. This is your wide receiver room. Look at this. Jacoby Myers. Look, I like Jacoby Myers. I respect Jacoby Myers. And I think Jacoby Myers is a really good third wide receiver. If you have unbelievably, and that's what he can be here. Because again, you have a tight end that is a wide receiver. So if you bring in Amari Cooper, Jacoby Myers can go to second, or I'm sorry, kind of third. I know Brock Bowers is a tight end, but him at wide receiver, all of a sudden you kind of have fixed your wide receiver room, and maybe you still need to draft a couple. And this is a better draft than we thought. But the reason I'm talking about this is because I think most of you aren't realizing how good of a quarterback you actually have. Now, most of you know the Geno Smith story by now, but most of us don't know that much about Geno Smith. We don't know what he's like in the locker room. We don't know what kind of leader he is. There was the whole punching incident with the Jets when he was young in his career, and there's all these different things. But there's a guy that's recently been talking, and it is DK Metcalf. And he did an interview on the Get Got podcast. And here's what he had to say about Geno Smith. He had a couple of things, and I want you to hear these. He said, me and Geno got to Seattle the same year. I used to bounce ideas off of Geno. Geno used to help me my first couple years with DBs. He was like, oh, you got so-and-so this week. I remember him when he was there. All he does is X, Y, Z. Me and Gino got used to talk to each other about opposing DBs when he was a backup. So that's great. That's what he did as a backup. Maybe the backup, that's what he's supposed to do. Maybe not. He doesn't have to help. He needs to worry about what he's doing, right? He's trying to win a starting job. He's trying to get there. But then, man, look at this one. Look at this one. He then went on to say he becomes a starter and we still had that same conversation. Metcalf continued, the same chemistry where we could talk about stuff. And I knew he was going to find me. I knew he had told Locke, that's Tyler Lockett, he was going to find Locke. So it was great having Gino as a quarterback. Just having him as my extra set of ears and eyes in the offensive meeting. And even when things got shaky, Gino would sometimes come up to me and say, bruh, that was my bad, man. I got you. I got you. I need you to stay with it. What you have is exactly what you need to have for the Raiders. I want you to think about your quarterback situation over the last few years. Look, Derek Carr, I get it. Okay. And you can give me your opinion on Derek Carr. I don't understand why people don't win with Derek Carr. There's some weird stuff going on in the noggin. All right. There has to be because teams don't win with him. But when he throws the ball, it seems like it should work out really well. Gino Smith clearly is a quarterback that is a good leader. I know your new head coach loves Gino Smith. He loves Gino Smith. This led to a funny moment, by the way, in the podcast where Marshawn, who showed shock at a QB taking accountability, all right, as if it was accountability, like a thing he didn't see, right? And then, by the way, look at this. I'll show it to you. They said it's worth noting that Marshawn played his final 2 NFL seasons with the Raiders, with Derek Carr as his quarterback. This isn't Derek Carr 2.0. This is a quarterback who is going to take accountability. This is a quarterback who's going to be a leader. This is a quarterback who no wide receivers. I have not heard a wide receiver. And by the way, there were times where they did not get DK the most reps. They should have given him the ball more, right? And they would have the ability with the offensive systems over the years not to give enough targets to wide receivers, but you don't see wide receivers going crazy. And the one that you did see showing his disdain or disgruntledness, I guess is a better word, was DK Metcalf. And here you have him talking about how much he liked and respected Geno Smith. So it was never a Geno Smith thing. You need a quarterback that can hold your wide receivers in check. And that's why I think a guy like Amari Cooper, that's why I think a guy like Stephon Diggs or even Keenan Allen just might consider, even though the Raiders might not be a ready-made Super Bowl contender this year, and those guys are in the twilight of their careers, they may still consider going to play for the Raiders. And that's something that I would love to see because that'll help you get off to a much quicker start. And yes, you should draft a wide receiver. Maybe it's Ted McMillan. Maybe it's somebody else early in the second round. But you still need some help on a veteran presence. All right. Hope you liked the video. If you did, hit that subscribe button. Love getting new subscribers every single day on this channel as we continue to grow it. And so appreciate your support and being part of this community. See you on the next one.